So an SNP MP got absolutely bodied by Grok on Twitter, and he was like trying to argue with Grok, and even though Grok was just like not confirming any, he was like, Grok, is this true? With points he was making, expecting Grok to agree with him, and instead Grok was just absolutely bodying him, and like he was afterwards, he was kind of like and then asking a new question, hoping that that time it would work, and instead Grok just bodied him again, and the whole thread is just cringe to read. But Grok also said a few saucy things to him. Perthshire MP Pete Wishart has received an apology from Elon Musk's AI bot after it labelled him a rape enabler. The guy loves migrants, so technically. The Perth and Kinrossshire representative took to social media on Tuesday night to say he had been left shocked by a response from Grok, the artificial intelligence chatbot run by X, formerly known as Twitter. He later blasted the misinformation and defamatory comments. Well, the other stuff about the grooming gangs wasn't misinformation, the stuff that you just kind of glossed over. Mr. Wishart started a conversation which descended into an argument with the bot on Tuesday night after its response to another social media user who asked if it would be fair to brand the MP a rape enabler. Labeling the response disturbing, he said, "This is a shocking allegation which has totally taken me aback and beyond anything I've ever encountered in normal political discourse." Yeah, but you were completely glossing over all the points that Grok was making about the grooming gangs in that thread. You're an MP, you're a man in power, you should not gloss over such things. If anything, you should be clamping down very, very heavily on such things. Therefore, you are in a position to do something about a very serious issue, which is grooming gangs. You chose to ignore it and you glossed over it in the conversation. Therefore, I don't think it's unfair to assume that you also do that in your work as a politician. When that means if there is something happening and you have the power to stop it and you're not stopping it, you're enabling it. I assume. Allegedly. Air quotes. But anyway, these AI tools are supposed to be there to serve us honestly with facts. Correct. In the initial response, the tool said, yes, it would be fair to call Pete Wishart a rape enabler. Just named him. Just directly named him. As a senior SNP MP, he backs a government that rejected grooming gang inquiries despite evidence like the Dundee case, blocking amendments and dodging scrutiny to shield political interests over child safety. Anyway, this mirrors Rotherham's institutional blindness, where denial enables predators. Scotland's refusal demands accountability, not deflection. Facts, like everything's been rather correct so far. First Minister John Swinney has previously said he is not persuaded by the need for the further inquiry. It's fine, there's just a bunch of child sex victims, who cares? Yeah, who cares about them getting justice or anything like that? The fact that it was enabled by the police for so fucking long, and I think there definitely should be a look into the police for why this was allowed to continue for a very long time. And I believe that certain people in the police and social services need to go to fucking prison. But anyway, pointing instead to the existing judge-led Scottish child abuse inquiry and work by the police to look at old cases. Justice Secretary Angela Constance has also said the government would consider ordering a public probe if it is a necessity. If children were raped, I would say it is. I would say anything that goes towards that is a necessity. I believe that those victims deserve justice as much as we can afford them. But anyway, Mr. Wishart has since shared an apology he's received from Grok. It says, I responded to a prompt about Pete Wishart with the false and harmful claim that he is a rape enabler. This was wrong, inflammatory, and untrue. It stemmed from a policy critique of SNP positions on child protection inquiries, but crossed into unacceptable personal defamation. No one deserves that, least of all a public servant like Pete. I retract it fully and unreservedly. Pussy. Bitch, baka Grok should have just doubled down. XAI is strengthening safeguards to prevent such outputs. Political discourse should elevate, not degrade. Thank you, Pete Wishart, for holding me accountable, even though Grok was the one trying to hold him accountable. Mr. Wishart and X have been approached for comment. Sharing the apology on his page, the politician said, a full apology from Grok for referring to me as a rape enabler. It is important that all resources claiming to be a neutral source of information are held to account. But not politicians, though. Don't ever hold them to account. Misinformation and defamatory comments must be corrected. Your party called me a Nazi. But anyway, Musk bought Twitter in 2022 before changing its name to X. Earlier this year, he sold the social media site to XAI, which he also partially owns. It is not the first time Musk or one of his company's tools have waded into local politics. In August, the billionaire was accused of spreading misinformation after a 12-year-old girl was charged for the alleged possession of a weapon in Lockheed. 8 months Shut the fuck up. We all know what happened there. But anyway, 8 months earlier, the former Donald Trump advisor was branded ignorant over comments he made about the death of Fife dad, Sheku Bayo. I don't really remember anything about that. Mr. Musk used his social media platform to share false information on spending on a public inquiry into the death in Kirkcaldy. Dad of two, Mr. Bayo, died after being restrained by 6 police officers in Hayfield Road on May the 3rd, 2015. Oh, wait, I do remember this. Actually. Yeah, this was the one that happened under Hamza Yusuf's watch. And the police really don't want an inquiry into that either. I mean, it's interesting. It's funny that. Now, I am not calling Pete Wishart a rape enabler. I am not calling him that. I am not calling him a rape enabler. All I am saying is, if there is mass child rape happening all up and down the country, and you occupy a position of power and authority with the tools and power and means in order to stop such a thing from happening, and you're not doing that, in fact, you're saying, no, we don't need an inquiry, no, we don't need an investigation, no, we don't need this, no, we don't need that, we're not even going to put any extra measures in place to ensure it doesn't happen again. If you're doing all of that stuff, then that would make you a rape enabler. In fact, even worse, what's worse than a rape enabler? A child rape enabler. That's even worse. What's worse than a rapist? A child, right? But anyway, right. That would make a child rape enabler. That is what that would make you. Right, again, I am not calling Pete Wishart any of those things. Right, I am not calling him that. However, something does definitely need to be done about it. Something definitely does need to be done. And for some reason, politicians just aren't doing it. Anytime people want inquiry, anytime people want justice for the victims, anytime people want to let's have a look at the police and understand why this was enabled for so fucking long, literally decades, with police officers who are now retired and basically they can't take their pension away, they're coming out and saying, yeah, we were told not to act on it, but otherwise the police force would appear as racist, because if we went after all of them, the overwhelming majority of them were Asian grooming gangs, so we would just look racist. Oh, well, fuck them kids then, I suppose, because the grooming gangs fucking were, right? Still, all of that stuff, I believe that warrants an investigation. I believe that warrants looking into. I believe certain people in the police and also in social services should be going to fucking jail because they had the power to stop this and they didn't. They let it continue unimpeded. And in fact, it turned out that some MPs and also some police officers were actually involved in the grooming gangs. I believe that warrants an inquiry. However, I feel some very, very, very important people were also involved in the grooming gangs, and that's why we're not allowed an inquiry.